Morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Just a second. So, after long time, we are having the physics lecture. I think last week we have not conducted any lecture related to physics, and this week also, due to that program, our lecture has got missed. Okay, so
Yes.
yes, so whatever I know that in last lecture, previous lecture, we have started the X-rays, and I have shown you one video related to continuous and characteristic X-rays. So, is that so? That was the I think last point. So today we will again start with the same point, and of course related to the X-ray spectrum. We are going to have discussion in today's lecture. Okay. So just a second. So is the screen visible to all of you?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Good. Okay, so with respect to X-rays, what we know, X-rays are nothing but the electromagnetic waves which are having very small amount of wavelength. If we see them in electromagnetic wave spectrum, then before gamma rays we can find out X-rays. Okay, and the invention of X-rays or discovery of X-rays was done by Röntgen. He was doing some experiment. He get to know that some unwanted or invisible rays are coming out of the material. Basically, to have the emission of such kind of radiations, the interaction of electrons is the main point. So due to that kind of interaction, he get to know that certain radiations are there. As the radiations were unknown, he has given the term X-rays. Okay, so how that X-rays are generated? So depending upon that, there are two types of X-ray spectrum. One is known as continuous X-ray spectrum, another one is known as characteristic X-ray spectrum. So to understand these kinds of X-rays, continuous and characteristic X-rays, first you should know the meaning of the term continuous and characteristics. So what you can say related to
Hello,
continuous?
ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, Pawan is unable to join.
Just a second. Just a second. Is the screen visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
What you are seeing right now
ma'am. The
The number of participants which has attended.
means screen is not visible. Actually, I am showing the PPT related to the third unit, but that is missing. Okay, just a second. Google has changed its view, and that's
Chip policy, ma'am.
yes. So this is expected to show. Okay. So X-ray spectrum, we know two types are there, continuous and characteristic. The point that I have asked, what do you mean by the term continuous? Continuous means what? Is my voice audible to all of you?
Absolutely.
Yes, okay. So what is the term continuous? Simple meaning of the term I am asking. It is not related to physics or X-rays. When we generally use the term continuous, what it means?
Ma'am, something which is happening without stopping.
Something which is going on in repeated manner, or there will not be any kind of break in between. Okay, so like after FME's lecture, without any break, if you are having physics lecture, then you can say that in continuous we are having 2 lectures. Okay, so like this, continuous, not having any break in between, we can say. What you can say related to characteristics? Character or characteristics?
Properties, ma'am.
Properties, okay, or something related to someone. Okay, like suppose I ask that define the characteristics of your physics teacher. So she is very rude, she is cold on us, like that you can put certain points related to the characteristics of your physics teacher. So whatever are the
No,
characteristics,
ma'am.
that was an example, don't take seriously. Okay, so basically like that, certain points you can mention which are only associated with your physics teacher. Okay, and that can be seen or can't be seen with your other teachers. So something that is related to me, that will be the characteristics of my nature. Okay, so like this, if you can understand these 2 words, then the getting the X-ray generation, that will be very easy for you. Okay, so you have to remember these 2 meanings. Continuous means there will not be any break, and characteristics which will be dependent related to something or someone, some matter will be there, and whatever X-rays are getting generated, that X-rays will be related to that material only. Okay, so this is the meaning related to these 2 terms. I think I have shown the video related to continuous X-ray spectrum. So can you recall what you have seen in that video? Basically here, whatever is the X-ray spectrum, continuous or characteristics, the X-rays are generated by the virtue of electron interaction. So whenever you will see that you have to mention the X-ray generation, so first you need to see that there should be some electron source. An electron source which will emit a continuous beam of electron will be used for the X-ray generation. Now, whatever is the electron, that electron upon interaction with any kinds of matter can produce X-rays. In this interaction, there are basically 2 types which you can see on the screen. So in one type, there will be need of accelerating X-rays, or accelerating X-rays will produce the X-ray spectrum, and in one case deaccelerating electron will produce the X-ray spectrum. Okay, so these are the things which are associated with continuous and characteristic X-ray spectrum. One electron beam is required, then that electron either go for the acceleration or either it should have retardation. Okay, so in both the cases you will get the X-rays in the output. One will be continuous, one will be the characteristics. So can you recall the contents related to continuous X-ray spectrum that I have shown in last lecture? Is it possible for you? If yes, mention that. If no, put no in the chat box. Okay, no, good. So basically, as I said, continuous and characteristic X-ray spectrum, we need to see acceleration or deceleration of the electron.
Hi students, this animation and description would help you to learn physics even more easier and better. Characteristic X-ray spectra.
Okay, so first we will talk about the continuous X-ray spectrum. In continuous X-ray spectrum, basically what will happen, there will be deceleration of the electrons. Okay, now before going towards acceleration and deceleration of the electrons, I would like to mention you one thing, that basically this X-ray generation is dependent, or we need to see how is the atom and how is the interaction of electron with the atom. Okay, so to understand the X-ray generation, you need to see how is the atomic structure. Now you people know how the atoms are arranged, so can you give me the idea how is the atomic arrangement? Yes.
Ma'am, solid structure.
Solid any structure. We are talking about the atom. So how atom looks? What are the constituents? In any
Number
atom.
of electrons filling the nucleus.
Yes, in any atom you will find there will be a nucleus which will have the protons and neutrons, certain amount of proton, certain amount of neutron. Okay, next to that, around that nucleus there will be certain shells. In that shells various electrons are situated. Okay, so here basically that electrons which are associated with any of the atom and the incoming electron, their interaction will be of greater importance. Okay, so first we will see the continuous X-ray spectrum.
The spectrum from an X-ray tube contains two distinct parts. Continuous X-ray spectra. It consists of radiations of all possible wavelengths from a certain lower limit to higher values continuously, as in the case of visible light. Origin. Continuous X-ray spectra. X-rays are
Okay, so here you can see the atomic structure. The middle portion is nothing but the nucleus, and then you can see in various shells electrons are situated. Now you people know the firstmost shell is having the high amount of binding energy and it will have only 2 electrons. Next to that you can see the number of electrons is increased, and for the outer shell of course the number of electrons will be more. Okay, so the capacity can be defined for these various shells. Generally the first shell after the nucleus, it can be denoted with the letter K. Then next to K there will be a L shell, then M shell, then N shell. Okay, so that structure you know, and the capacity of K shell is 2 electrons, then L is 8, then 18, 32, like this. Okay, so that idea you people are already having. In 12th standard in chemistry course you have seen all that things. Okay, so nucleus and the various shells occupying various numbers of electrons. This is the atomic structure that we people know with and this will be similar, means of course the number of electrons and number of proton neutron will get changed for the material, but overall structure will be the same. Okay, so now again one thing, what is the charge on the nucleus? What is the charge of the nucleus?
And it is equal to its atomic number. No?
I'm not talking about charge. Is it a positive charge or is it a negative charge?
Positive.
Positive. And what about the electrons?
Negative.
Negative. Okay, so and you people know the basic laws related, like positive and negative gets attracted towards each other. So if that is the case, why these electrons don't get attracted towards the nucleus?
Ma'am, nucleus don't have any charge.
Nucleus don't have any charge. Why? But there are the protons now, and protons are positive in charge. So how you can say it is not having any charge? Yes? Who said it is not having any charge? Farhan. Okay, whoever has said, I want the explanation. Yes? I have asked something. If the question is not clear, at least mention that. Otherwise, I will wait for your response.
मॅम न्यूक्लियस मध्ये प्रोटॉन आणि इलेक्ट्रॉन दोघं असताना मग त्याच्यामुळे तो चार्ज कॅन्सल होऊन जातो पॉझिटिव्ह आणि निगेटिव्ह.
Neutron is not having any charge. Neutrons are chargeless.
इलेक्ट्रॉन म्हणलं मॅम.
Yes? Abhishek?
मॅम प्रोटॉन आणि इलेक्ट्रॉन जे असतं ना त्यांचा चार्ज कॅन्सल होऊन जातो म्हणून त्याच्यावर काहीच चार्ज उरत नाही.
That you are talking about atom, but I am asking what is the charge on the nucleus? Nucleus is having neutron and proton in it. Neutrons are chargeless and protons are having positive charge. Okay, so ultimately the nucleus will have positive charge and the electrons which are revolving around the nucleus, they are having the negative charge. So why here the positive and negative attraction doesn't take place? That is the question. Any idea? If you are having any idea, give me the answer. If you are not having any idea, put no in the chat box. See, we are not having much amount of time. So the answer is why these electrons don't go towards the nucleus. They are in a revolving condition at each and every moment. Okay, so whatever are the electrons around the nucleus, they are in a rotating manner, and whatever is the speed of that rotation, that is very high. So if that is comparable, if that is compared with the attracting force, then the attraction gets nullified as compared to its speed. Okay, and that's why they try to remain in the particular shell around the nucleus. But when external electron, why I have given all that things, just to give you idea about the continuous X-ray spectrum. In continuous X-ray spectrum, basically what happens, the external electron from the electron gun gets in contact with these electron cloud and the nucleus, and this external electron, due to its high amount of acceleration, as it is having high amount of acceleration, it is having high amount of speed, and due to that speed it passes through this electron cloud and it moves towards this nucleus. Okay, that first we will see, and what happens after that interaction, that we will discuss further.
Produced when high velocity electrons strike the target material of high atomic number. It has also been mentioned in the production of X-rays that most of the energy of the electrons goes into the heating of the target material. A few fast-moving electrons penetrate deep into the interior of the atoms of the target material and are attracted towards the nuclei by the attractive forces of their nuclei. Due to these forces, the electrons get deflected from their original path. As a result of this, the electrons are decelerated and hence energy of the electron decreases continuously. This loss of energy during retardation is given off in the form of X-rays of continuously varying wavelength.
Okay, so here what you have seen, external electron, when it comes in the contact of this nucleus, it loses its speed. Okay, its speed gets decreased. As its speed or velocity is decreasing there, we can say there is a retardation of that electron. Now, while having that retardation, whatever is the loss of energy, that loss of energy is emitted in the form of X-rays. Okay, so simple is the case with respect to continuous X-ray spectrum. External electron, upon interaction with the nucleus of any material, it loses some of its energy, it loses its speed, velocity, and whatever is the loss of energy, that loss is continuously emitted by the material, and that loss of energy is termed as the continuous X-rays. And this process is continuous. Okay, there will not be any break. After one electron, of course, when that electron passes through this particular area, it will continually emit the X-rays. Again, in the same case, what will happen? One after the another, there will be a bombardment of electrons. So continuously, one after another, there will be electron in contact with this nucleus, and due to that interaction, there will be a retardation of the electron. Due to retardation, whatever energy will get lost by the electron, that will give you the continuous X-rays. Okay, so that is the case of continuous X-rays. If you are having any confusion or doubt in this, then you can ask. I'll play this.
मैम टोटल एनर्जी कांस्टेंट होती है क्या उसकी?
What you have said, total energy?
मैम the total energy of the electron remain constant?
Yes, total energy remains the constant. Means what here what will happen? Whatever is the energy loss, that is in the form of X-rays. So you need to add the energy of electron and energy of the X-ray generated. Suppose in input you are having the energy of electron, at the output you need to add energy of X-rays plus energy of electron. So that equation will get balanced over here.
Ma'am?
Yes?
Ma'am, just you have said that there is a loss of potential energy, no?
There is a loss of energy, potential and kinetic, that is not mentioned.
So how does the total energy remain constant?
Means what? I have not understood your question.
Ma'am, just now you said that the potential energy get lost.
How potential energy will get lost? I have said just energy will get lost. There is no any point of say potential or kinetic. It is say binding energy of that electron associated with the material. Okay, so that energy is different.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So basically here the whatever we are saying, that energy that electron will get when it will passes through certain system. Now to understand this particular thing or to have such kind of things to generate the X-rays, high amount of machinery is required. So for the X-ray related studies, basically there are certain instruments which will give you such kind of studies, and of course inside that machines there are very complicated structures, and due to that complications, the machines which are having such kind of facilities, they are having their prices in terms of crores. Okay, so what are that machines and all that things we are going to discuss, but right now understand this thing, whatever I have explained, this is the simple principle. But if you want to do these things in actual, the process is little bit complicated. Okay, so just you need to understand as a principle, the external electron upon interaction with nucleus will lose some amount of energy, that is due to the attraction in between this positively charged nucleus and negatively charged incoming electron. So loss of energy is nothing but the continuous X-ray spectrum in this particular case. Okay, so this is related to continuous. Now in continuous, as the term mentions, there will be a continuous generation of X-ray beams. Now in characteristic, the things are little bit different. So what are the things that we will see at first? And again, while seeing the video related to this characteristic X-ray spectrum, you need to keep in mind the meaning of the term characteristic. Characteristics, these are dependent upon the material which we are going to use for the study. Okay. So first I'll play the video and then we will have the discussion.
Let us see the origin of the characteristic X-ray spectra. Few of the fast-moving electrons having a velocity of about 1/10 of the velocity of light may penetrate the surface atoms of the target materials and knock out the tightly bound electrons even from the innermost shells like K-L shells of the atom. The figure shows the case when the fast-moving electrons knock off one electron from K shell and the vacancy is filled by the nearby electron from the L shell. During this transition, the energy difference is radiated in the form of X-rays of a very small wavelength. This corresponds to the K alpha line of the series. The frequency nu1 of this line is given by the relation Ek minus El is equal to h nu1. Suppose the electron from M shell jumps to the K shell, it gives out K beta line and so on. If an electron jumps from the M shell to the vacant state in L shell, it contributes L alpha line, and if the vacancy in L shell is filled up by an electron of M shell, it contributes L beta and so on. This is represented in the figure. The frequency of radiation depends upon the target material. Hence, this spectra is known as characteristic spectra.
Okay, so here again you can see the atomic structure is provided. Okay, so along with the atomic structure, here you can see the nucleus is present, then the K shell, L shell, M shell, so like this, and in each shell there are certain amount of electrons. In case of characteristic X-ray spectrum, basically what happens, the external electron, it comes in contact with these electron cloud, and it is the external electron, it is having the energy like this, that it will hit this electron or it will knock out this electron from its position. Okay, so when the electron present in the K shell removes out, what will happen? Here there will be a vacancy. Okay, so now that vacancy is available at the K shell, so the electrons which are present in say L shell or M shell or in N shell, they will try to occupy this particular position. They will try to occupy the vacancy present in the K shell. So there will be a transition of electron from the higher shell to the K shell. Now while having this transition from higher state to lower state, whatever is the energy difference, because we know whatever are these K, L, M shells, these are nothing but the energy shells. So the electrons which are having same amount of energy, they will be in particular energy level. Of course, if electrons are present in the L shell, they are having the higher energy as compared to electrons present in the K shell. So whenever there will be a transition from the L shell to the K shell, so whatever is the energy difference in between these two, that will get out, and that will be in terms of X-rays. So here you have seen due to that external electron, the electron present in the K shell that has removed out, and next to that the vacancy of the K shell is filled by the electron present in the L shell, and while having that transition, whatever is the energy loss, that is given in terms of energy, and that is termed as the K alpha energy. Okay, and that is nothing but the X-ray generation process. Okay, so here whatever are the K alpha, K beta or K gamma kinds of lines, like if there is a transition of electron from L shell to K shell, then there will be a K alpha line. If there is a transition from M shell to the K shell, then that will be a K beta line. If the transition is from N shell to the K shell, then that will be a K gamma line. Okay, so like this, if the transition is from M to L shell, then that will be a M alpha line. Okay, or L alpha line. Next to that there will be L beta line. So like this, K alpha, K beta, K gamma, L alpha, L beta, L gamma, M alpha kinds of lines you will get with respect to X-ray generation. And whatever are the lines, these are the energy difference related lines. So energy difference, here we are talking about the binding energy of the atoms with respect to nucleus. So of course binding energy of any electron present in any material, that will be unique, and as material changes the energy will get vary. Okay, so that's why whatever are the characteristic X-ray spectrum, they will get vary as you vary the material. Now suppose if you have taken such kind of process, if you have the interaction of external electron with say gold material, so the gold material will give you a unique K alpha, K beta, L alpha, L beta kinds of lines. If you interact the electron with say potassium material, so that potassium material will give you different kinds of K alpha, K beta or L alpha, L beta kinds of lines. So if you change the material, you will get variation in these energy differences, and here these energy differences, they are nothing but the X-rays, because X-rays are nothing but the electromagnetic waves. They are having certain amount of energy. That energy is mentioned over here in terms of K alpha, K beta and L alpha, L beta kinds of lines. Okay, so basically such kind of things, if you want to have such kind of interactions, here you can see the image related to characteristic X-ray production is given. So here you can say, suppose there is a silicon atom. So silicon atom is mentioned. Here is the nucleus and then electrons in various orbits. So when external electron comes in contact with this K electron, so K electron gets out, and whatever is the electron in the outer shell that try to occupy this particular position. So in this interaction, whatever X-rays are generated, they are termed as SiK alpha. Okay, so as you are saying, it is a spectrum. So spectrum means there will be some kinds of spectra. Spectra are nothing but the particular combination of particular lines. Okay, so that lines you can see on the screen. And of course the electron which is responsible to have such kind of radiation, that will again move out from the material once its job is done. So here you can see the word is provided SEM. So SEM stands for scanning electron microscope. You might have heard the word. So if you want to have such kind of interactions, you need to use that machine. So that machine is available with EDAX attachment. So SEM along with EDAX is used for such kind of studies. Okay. Now why to do such kind of studies? Or of course X-ray generation is the important thing. Another thing is that with the help of these processes, you can understand the composition of the material. Okay. So suppose if you are having any material which is having the combination of various atoms, so that can be detected with the help of continuous X-ray spectrum, and that study is known as EDAX. The full form of EDAX is EDAX is nothing but energy dispersive X-ray analysis. Of course, these points are not in your syllabus, so separate slides are not given over here. This is just for your reference. If say in future if you go for such kind of analysis, then you should know there are the instruments known as scanning electron microscopes, which are the highly magnified microscopes which you people can use for the study of say nanomaterials. If you want to have the pictures of nanomaterials, then you can go for the SEM analysis. You can use the scanning electron microscope in that case. Another important thing in the research, if you compose some kind of material, if you invent some kind of material, then to understand the composition of that material, you need to go for such kind of analysis known as energy dispersive X-ray analysis. And as in here you can see the continuous X-ray spectrum, they are dependent upon the material. So whatever is the constituent of that material, that can be detected with the help of these techniques. Okay, so this is the related to the continuous and characteristic X-ray spectrum. So you people have seen the transition gives you various kinds of X-rays, L alpha, K alpha or K beta, so like this. So how is the atomic arrangement of the materials that is responsible to produce the characteristic X-ray spectrum? So here two types of X-ray spectrums are there. In continuous we have seen the fast moving electrons, when comes in contact with positively charged nucleus, it loses some amount of energy. That energy is emitted in the form of X-rays. So these are the two methods with which you can have the generation of X-rays. So here the case related to the continuous X-ray spectrum is provided when the moving charged particles like electron penetrate a target material, they are deflected from their path and lost part of their energy due to nuclear force. This loss of energy during retardation is given off in the form of X-rays of continuously varying wavelength. Okay, so this is the case of continuous and characteristic X-ray spectrum. Is there any doubt up to this? See, understanding EDAX is of high importance because this is my general experience that of course this is the part of every UG program, but most of the researchers at the time of even their PhD, they don't get to know how is the continuous and characteristic X-ray spectrum. Continuous is not of that much use, but characteristic X-ray spectrum is of high importance if you want to study the composition of the material. So this is the case, and this is actually you have to absorb with respect to these contents. So if you are having any doubt, any confusion, I'll suggest try to clear all that things at this moment so that your understanding related to this topic will be clear. Okay. So yeah, I think Akib want to say something.
No, ma'am.
So is there any doubt?
I want to ask.
Okay, Pawan. Yes.
Ma'am, in continuous continuous process, there is no elimination of electron, right?
There is no elimination of electron. But in case of characteristic X-ray spectrum, there is loss of electron. One electron, and again, whatever I have said, that the same machine, scanning electron microscope, so that machine is also having the EDAX attachment with which you can detect the X-rays with respect to any material. Again, you can detect the removed electron. Okay, so basically in such kind of machines, I would like to, you have asked very good question, Pawan. Basically this figure that you can see on the screen is of high importance, because if you can understand this particular figure, then you will able to understand the working principle of at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different machines. Okay. So whenever an electron will have interaction with any of the material, at the same time there can be generation of X-rays, there will be removal of the electron. As you have seen in case of characteristic X-ray spectrum, the external electron removes the electron present in the material. So there are, whatever is the removed electron, that removed electron is termed as the secondary electron. So if you can collect the secondary electrons in this particular process, then you can have the imaging of the material, and that is the principle of scanning electron microscope. Okay. If the transmission is there, so with respect to transmission of that external electron, you can have the transmission electron microscope related principle. Okay. So these whatever machines I am mentioning over here, all are sophisticated instruments or sophisticated machines which are used in the higher kinds of research. And of course that machines are not very obvious to see. If you come to the college, then of course, and if you ask where is the transmission electron microscope, you can't see that machine, because these are very costly machines and are available at the IITs or huge universities. So in our the university that is associated with our college, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, it is having that kind of facilities. So you can see such kind of machineries at that places, but at the college level you can't see such kind of machines, because they are they are having high cost. And why the high cost is there? Due to the science behind it. Okay. So the science says that whenever electron will interact with any kinds of material, that kind of process, these kinds of process are possible in that case. Okay. So of course in characteristic X-ray spectrum, removal of the electron will be there. And how is the removal? That is also of high importance. If you can have the detectors to detect that, you can have the different kinds of analysis. Okay. So Pawan, do you want to ask something? In continuous, of course, there is no any loss of electron. Whatever is the fast moving electron coming in contact with this material, this will give out, and again if you can detect that one, you can study certain properties. But generally that is not done. In this particular process, the aim is just to get the continuous X-ray beams.
Okay, ma'am. But I wanted to ask, in characteristics, can this happen that the outer electron came and the inner went out, and the outer electron took the same position?
Yes, that is also possible. If that is possible, of course, the X-rays will not be generated. There will be some another kinds of phenomena. So that's why I have shown this image. If that thing happens, then that is whatever is the external electron which is occupying this particular position, that will give you the auger electron, or that will give you some phenomena related to another properties of the material, which also can be detected with certain kinds of machines.
Okay.
So that possibility is also there.
Okay.
Of course, when that external electron occupies this particular position, there will be change in the energy difference, because the K shell, it is having a particular amount of energy. Whatever are the electrons present in the K shell, they are having their certain amount of energy, and that's why this is nothing but one energy level. This K line is one energy level, L line is one energy level. So if the electron, external electron, try to be in the K shell, of course energy difference will be there. That energy difference can emit the X-rays, but it can show other effect too. So that you need to detect.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, for this mainly F block elementers are used. as a radioactive?
I have not understood your question.
Ma'am, the element which is used for this experiment is mainly of which block we are
No. Any material you can use for the such kind of studies. Basically, here I want to explain you the generation of X-rays where this can be used. As I said, if you want to have the composition of the material, so at that moment such kind of studies are done. So any of the material, that may be a single material like gold or
excuse me. So in D block element there is a property of screening and shielding effect. So it is having any impact on this experiment?
No, it is not having that impact. Here just whatever is the atomic structure and basically in atomic structure whatever is the energy of electron, that is only having the relation over here. Okay. So external electron and their interaction with any kinds of atom, that will be the case. There will be some removal of electron or there will be some transition of electron that is detected with the help of detectors, and that is of use in such kind of experiments. So whatever you are saying, that will not have any impact over here.
Okay.
So this is related to continuous and characteristic X-ray spectrum. So up to this point what we have seen, how the X-rays are generated. Either there will be a acceleration of accelerating electrons in contact with materials will produce the characteristic X-ray spectrum, or if the external electron upon retardation produces X-rays, that will be a continuous X-ray beam. So in any case you can have the X-rays either continuous or characteristic. Now why we have seen all that things? Basically in crystal structure topic, under crystal structure topic, to study the X-rays, the importance is to understand the crystal structure. Okay. So to understand the crystal structure we need to use the X-rays, and if you want to use the X-rays you should know how the X-rays can be generated. So the processes we have seen. Now we have to understand how the X-rays can be utilized for the study of crystal structure. So basically here there will be a diffraction of X-rays. So the first question is, what do you know related to the term diffraction? Diffraction is the well-known term. Of course we have seen the diffraction in unit number 1, but that was the diffraction of light. Okay. So can you explain what is the diffraction of light?
It is the bending of light over the edges of an object spreading over the region of a geometrical shape.
Yes. And basically one point that I have mentioned in diffraction of light, when diffraction is possible, when the wavelength of that incoming light waves is comparable to the dimensions of the obstacle. If that two things are comparable to each other, then only you can have the diffraction. So same case you have to imagine for the X-ray diffraction. Here in place of light, of course there will be a X-ray beam, because we have seen the light waves are also a part of electromagnetic wave spectrum, and X-rays are also a part of electromagnetic wave spectrum. Okay. So both are electromagnetic radiations. So whatever are the properties of visible light, that some of the properties can be repeated for the X-rays too. So as like light waves, X-rays also can have the diffraction. Now here, as I said, you need to compare the diffraction of light with the X-ray diffraction. So in case of diffraction of light, you have seen the incident light beam upon interaction with an obstacle which is having very small dimensions can give you certain geometrical shape on the screen. Okay. So here in place of light there will be a X-rays. Now here in place of obstacle, what we are going to use? We are going to use the crystal structure. Okay. So in crystal structure, we have seen the solid materials, they possesses the various kinds of properties, like there will be a crystalline, single crystalline structure, or there will be a polycrystalline structure, or there will be a amorphous structure. In any of the structure, of course, there will be a particular arrangement of the atoms. So here on the screen you can see certain circles are provided line by line. So whatever are the circles, consider they are nothing but the atoms. Okay. So this is nothing but the atomic arrangement for say any of the material. So in the atomic arrangement, what we have seen, crystal structure is nothing but the periodic arrangement of the atoms. So here one atom, then after some period another atom, then next. In first line, whatever is the arrangement, the same you can see on the second line. On third line, the similar arrangement is there. Okay, because the crystal is nothing but a three-dimensional structure. Okay, so in crystals you can see the same arrangement is in the three dimensions, x, y, and z. Now to understand the X-ray diffraction, of course, in place of grating, diffraction grating, which you have seen in case of light diffraction, here you have to imagine the atomic structure. So in atomic structure, whatever is the distance in between two planes, consider the first line as the first plane of the atoms, second line, second plane of the atoms, and third plane. So distance in between two planes is nothing but the say d. Okay. So here how you can compare this atomic structure with grating. Here you can see one atom is there, then there is a vacancy, another atom, vacancy, another atom, vacancy. Okay. So in case of diffraction grating, what we have seen, there will be a scratch, then glass portion, glass, scratch, then glass portion, scratch, glass portion. Okay. So here whatever are the atoms, consider them as a scratch on a diffraction grating, and vacancy as the transparent material. Okay. So like this, the whatever is the diffraction grating structure, that diffraction grating structure is can be comparable with the atomic structure, and this atomic structure is used for the purpose of getting X-ray diffraction. So whenever X-rays will get interacted with such kind of materials, such kind of any kinds of crystal structure, they will produce the diffraction. Basically this X-ray diffraction, this term with respect to X-ray diffraction, there is one law known as Bragg's law, and related to Bragg's law, one equation is provided on the screen. So have you ever seen this particular equation? This n lambda is equal to 2d sin theta. So have you ever seen this particular equation? Of course, how that equation got arise, that we are going to see. But before that, just as a part of curiosity.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, so where you have seen this equation?
Ma'am, in that Young's experiment, we have seen.
Newton's ring experiment. And sin theta is equals to 2 sin theta is equals to lambda.
See, if this was the offline class, of course, in real time you have got the punishment, but as this is online, I can't give any kinds of punishment. We have not seen this equation in Newton's ring experiment. We have seen this particular equation in diffraction related experiment, the third experiment, or I think second experiment that you have seen. Okay. So in Newton's ring experiment, the formula was different. The experiment in which you people have determined the wavelength of HENE laser light, you have seen this particular equation, N lambda is equal to 2d sin theta. Again in theory lecture also you have seen this equation, and that was the question, where you have seen this particular thing, where the difference was like that, in place of d there was the term a plus b. So now can you give me the answer where you have seen this equation? Yes. Is my voice reaching to you? Are we in the meeting? Students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Of course, in diffraction section, you have seen this equation. If you can't recall, then in diffraction theory, I have given one equation which says a plus b sine theta is equal to n lambda. That a plus b, I have mentioned that it is nothing but the path difference. Here the path difference is considered as a 2D. Okay. So a plus b sine theta is equal to n lambda. Same equation you have used for the determination of wavelength in case of HENE laser light, and the same equation you can see over here. This equation is known as Bragg's law. Now what is Bragg's law and how that Bragg's law is used for the X-ray diffraction, that of course we will see in the next portion. Okay. So 2 to 3 points are there with respect to this particular chapter that we will see. One thing that I would like to mention over here is that from this coming Friday, we people are going to have our lecture at 11 a.m. Okay. So in place of mathematics, you people will have the lecture of engineering physics. And of course, I'm not the person who is going to conduct that lecture. So whatever are the physics teachers of our institute, me, then Toksha sir and Ghodke sir, we thought that every student should get knowledge that every physics faculty is having. Okay, so we are going to arrange the lecture series. So in that lecture series, coming Friday and next Friday, Toksha sir is going to deliver the lecture. Of course, that will be related to our contents. Next to that, Ghodke sir and of course one lecture I'm also having. Okay, so that lecture will be for all the 3 divisions which are having engineering physics course, means your division, D division and AF division. Okay, so coming Friday, Toksha sir will conduct the lecture. The topic will be superconductivity. Okay, so that is the part of our unit number 5. So he is going to cover the portion from unit number 5. I am going to cover the rest of the portion related to unit number 6, and Ghodke sir is also going to contribute in unit number 6. Okay, so that we have thought for you people, and of course that we will start from this coming Friday. So every Friday we will have in combination the physics lecture. Okay, so do you have any problem related to that? I hope you are not. Right now, okay. So kindly mention the absent numbers so that I'll mark the attendance. And if you are having any other doubt, you can discuss that with me. Yes, what are the absent numbers? Roll number 3 is present.
Yes, ma'am. 3 present.
5 is absent, I think. 7. 8. 10.
मॅम एकचा थोडा नेटवर्क इश्यू होता त्याच्यामुळे
बरं, ती किती होती का ती लेक्चरला?
हो मॅम स्टार्टिंगला होती.
ओके, रोल नंबर 10. Okay, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
14 present, ma'am.
Who is the 14?
Kudus Sheikh.
15 and 16. Okay, absent. 22. 23. Okay. So absent numbers are roll number 5, 7, 10, 15, 16 and 22. Okay. So okay.
Excellent.
So if you are having no doubt, you may leave the lecture. If you are having doubt, you may discuss. Yes, Akib.
Ma'am, who will give us teacher's assessment marks?
Teacher?
Assessment marks.
Of course, I am going to give.
Okay, ma'am.
See, only for Friday we are having that lectures. Okay. So whatever are the rest of the lectures in a week, of course I am going to deliver that lecture. I am the physics teacher. I am going to give you teacher assessment related marks. Okay. I am going to assess your practicals. I am going to give you your term work related marks. Okay. Okay, so if not, thank you very much. You may leave the meeting. You can go for the next lecture.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice day, ma'am.